Good morning, students. Once again, I'm here to discuss, as I had promised during my last lecture, that today I would be talking about Shelley as a poet of love, which is meant for your BA second year literature course. Shelley, as you know, is prescribed in your syllabus, and you have got poems like Go to the West Wind and To a Skylark. These two poems are there in your syllabus. Now, before I begin telling you something about Shelley as a poet of love, I may start with the basic notion which I had discussed in one of my lectures, classroom lectures to be exact and precise, when I discussed romantic poetry a few months ago. I told you that every poet, be he romantic or a classical one, is in search of this thing or that thing. Because poetry basically is a search. And most of the time, we search for the thing which we do not have, which we do not possess, which is not bestowed upon us. For example, Wordsworth was in search of peace, Keats was in search of beauty, Byron was in search of power, and Shelley was in search of love. Now, beauty, power, love, peace, all these things were the things which were denied to these respective poets, which they could not realize in their real life, and therefore they wanted to realize those things through their writings. Now, coming to Shelley as a poet, and even as a human being, if we go into the biographical details of his life, we will come to know that Shelley's life was very revolutionary, very upside down and inside out, tormented life he had led. And we may also recall the fact that he married thrice. Perhaps he wanted to get or realize the concept of love which he had formed in his mind through his readings, through his own original musings. He wanted to realize that ideal of love even in real life. And perhaps he failed, and therefore he wanted to realize that love in his writings, in his poetry. Now, for Shelley, love is something which is both platonic and physical, which is the sustaining force of this universe, which we may correlate with what we call gravitational pull of the earth. According to Shelley, this gravitational pull is nothing but sheer love. Because in love, we get attracted. There is some sort of magnetic power in love, because of which we get attracted towards things and towards people, towards nature, towards everything. So he wanted to realize that love, which is the sustaining force of this universe, in his poetry, in his life, everywhere. His concept of love is platonic also, because he believed in the abstraction of love, not as a physical aspect, but as one of the aspects of godhood itself. Now, Shelley was in search of this love, and he wanted to realize this love through his poetry, and therefore even the objects and manifestations of nature were things of great fascination for this poet. For him, love is not only individual, it is not something between one person and another person, it is something which is universal. And when he says in that poem, Ode to the West Wind, at the fag end, he exalts the west wind to spread his prophecy throughout mankind. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? Now, that spring, that concept of the golden age, which he has got in his mind, that is something which is going to be realized in this world only in future, where there would be liberty, equality and fraternity. Now, fraternity is also very important in relation to Shelley, because fraternity amounts to mutual love between man and man, between the whole of mankind. So he wanted to spread that message of love among mankind through his poetry, and therefore he said, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? So you can discuss Shelley as a poet of love on these lines, beginning with that idea that every poet is in search of this thing or that thing, and ultimately he tries to realize that thing in his writings. Thank you very much. Tomorrow I will talk about Keats as a poet of beauty.